Can you hear me?
There you go. What's up, everybody? We
I didn't really get to hear the intro music that much, so I don't know if that was good or not.
it sounds like it's from Conan, but that's the best thing I could find. If anybody doesn't isn't aware, well, why would you be aware? We got we had some royalty
Right.
free music that we have for intro
Somebody probably owns it.
that was getting giving us a headache, so we had to switch that out. So we'll be getting more something permanent in soon. But until then, it's not like you're listening for our intro music anyway. Um, but what's up, man? What's been going on?
I'm all right, man. It's been we didn't do a show last week.
We didn't.
Last weekend was Mother's Day. You care about your mother, so you celebrated it. Um,
And my wife and my sister. I didn't want to get killed 3 times over.
well, you had a couple of moms to worry about, so I understand. Not much is going on this week, man. It's there's a few movies we need to talk about this week,
Yeah.
and there's one big thing that I want to talk to you about and get your opinion on because we got a lot of comments about it on punchdrunkcritics.com this week. For those who don't know, they're tuning in for the first time or you're checking us out on demand or whatever on a podcast. We are the Punch Drunk Critics. I am Travis Hobson. He is John Nolan, film critics extraordinaire from DC. And it was it was an interesting week.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday there were like 2 major deaths in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. First of all, it was Fred Willard,
Who I didn't know was 89 years old or 86 years old, for God's sakes.
86 years old. You know, if I'm honest, never been the biggest fan of Fred Willard, but he always found a way to pop in and say something funny.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like in measured doses, he's really funny. Like in like The Best in Show and like A Mighty Wind, stuff like that. He's freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
That was huge. Then like within 5 minutes of learning about that, we learned about Lynn Shelton.
Mm-hmm.
Director Lynn Shelton, who directed Your Sister's Sister, Hump Day, Laggies. She just did Sword of Trust. She did episodes of Little Fires Everywhere on Hulu. I mean, she's one of the founders of the mumblecore movement, if you remember what that was, for about a decade ago. Really brought into light people like Mark Duplass and Lena Dunham. She passed away. We learned about that just like it seemed like 5 minutes later. That news came out, and that was just a huge loss. I mean, I remember Your Sister's Sister being one of the first movies that I really loved at Sundance. From my early trips to Sundance, that was one of the first movies I really loved. I still own it. Love that movie. She's just a fantastic director. Freaking Hump Day is a great film. Yeah, so this is kind of crazy. It was kind of crazy yesterday, and you know, I just the Lynn Shelton thing really hit me kind of hard. So she's one of those directors that I always wanted to interview.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always wanted to interview, and I always had opportunities to interview her, and I never did it. Assuming, because I kept waiting for like another Your Sister's Sister.
Right.
Like
you want to do it for the right thing.
That I loved, that I wanted to talk about. Like I could have talked to her for Sword of Trust. I didn't like Sword of Trust that much, so I didn't want to talk about it. And I didn't like Laggies that much, so I never talked to her about those. And I had the chance to go talk to her at Sundance for Laggies, and I just kept putting it off, waiting for that one next amazing film, and never gonna get a chance to do it. And it sucks because she's such a talented filmmaker, and she's gonna be missed. It sucks.
Yeah, that's why you never put off today or for tomorrow what you can do today. I mean, and it's the weirdest thing about this is that this is the second show in a row that we've had a major affecting death to talk about. And none of these have been COVID related, as you'd imagine. I don't think it was hers. I know not a lot of details came out when I read about it.
She had some sort of blood disorder that hadn't been diagnosed.
Right. So
yeah. Another thing that I want to talk to you about in a little bit. Now we can talk about movies first. This is about movies. We can talk about reviews first. And we do want to talk about. I don't know if you got a chance to see Scoob or Capone.
I did. Okay. My bank account is starting to hurt from all these. I got to give Scoob credit though for letting me buy it.
Of these films still.
What? Yeah, I know. I'm not that.
Well, you might not have been able to get Scoob. They were really being tight with Scoob.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. I got it over some people from other sites that didn't get it, so I got lucky. But Capone, you could have got. And the funny thing about Capone was, and I tweeted about this and wrote about it on Facebook, was that right after I wrote my Capone review, before I had posted it because the embargo hadn't been up yet, Josh Trank followed me on Twitter.
No.
Director, I know. And I was like, I really don't like it when the director of a movie follows me on Twitter right before I post my review.
Right.
Because I know he's just sitting there waiting for me to post it.
Yeah. Well, and
I'm going to get a message. And sure enough, I posted my review, and it wasn't great. It wasn't a great review. I did not give it a hugely positive review at all. Actually, I think it was kind of in between. And sure enough, he started tweeting away about, well, I did my best and blah, 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 blah. And, people will understand my movie in 10 years and blah, 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 and all that kind of thing. And I was just like, bleh.
Right. Well, the understanding of the movie in 10 years does swing into something else we're going to be talking about today as well.
Yeah.
But does. You said you want to get into reviews first, right?
It fits in perfectly, actually. You're right, because Wayne Kramer, who's the director who did one of my favorite, in fact, it is my favorite Paul Walker film, and it is Running Scared.
Mm-hmm.
He directed Running Scared in 2006. I freaking love that movie. He directed that, and he posted on social media that filmmakers should be able to appeal their Rotten Tomatoes scores after a decade.
Right.
And that's got a lot of people buzzing about whether or not they should be able to do that. Because there's some amazing movies that have like really low scores. And his example was Man on Fire, which has a 39% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is ridiculous.
Right.
That's ridiculous. Now, when he said it, he wrote 34% because it did have 34% at that time. But the interesting thing was, after he wrote that, it went up to 39%. And I bet if I check it again now, I bet it may have gone up again, because I'm willing to bet that critics went back and changed their scores.
Well, right. I mean, that's part of the problem at large. I mean, I almost made a joke earlier, and this isn't just because I do a show with you or because we run the site together, but I'd say you were one of the few people that I know of that is pretty much invulnerable to who's looking at their stuff, just going to write what you're going to write regardless. But that's not exactly the standard in the profession. I've seen one of the worst things I've seen in the 12 years I've been doing this is just the mob mentality of the thought about movies. I know I tend to think it's a little bit more
we've talked about
basic than you do,
before.
But
we've talked about groupthink when it comes to some of this stuff, and it's especially prevalent at like festivals and things like that amongst people who do things early. My prime example of that has always been Upstream Color, that film from what's his name, who Shane Carruth, who recently quote unquote retired from filmmaking, and how I had sat there at the world premiere of that with a whole bunch of critics, and nobody understood it after it was over. Everybody was like befuddled by it, and then they went home and wrote positive reviews of it, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I was like the only one who wrote like the most scathing review of it, because I was like, the movie makes no goddamn sense. And if it was supposed to make sense, that he didn't do a good job of explaining it. And I and I had no problem scorching that film when all those people that sat around together in a group talking about the movie, and then those people went home and gave it good reviews. I was like, you guys are just full of crap.
Well, I mean, that type of movie,
person, like one big critic who said something positive about it, and they all just fell in line. and I don't like that.
Yeah, well, nobody wants to be
And I
different,
told
and
Carruth that in an interview. I interviewed Carruth,
yeah.
and I told him I didn't like his movie because he asked me straight up if I liked it, and I said
Mhm.
no.
What was the response
we
to
had
that?
we had a fantastic conversation. It was one of the best interviews I ever did.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you have an
Um,
actual artist, they're gonna want your actual feelings about it. But that's
yeah,
one of the two of the things I've found is the group think, which happens a lot, and then you know, film critics tend to you know play ourselves out off as these intellectuals, like literary novelists, and a lot of people are extremely smart, and a lot of people are great writers and able to look at this stuff. But it's not, we're I've found that when you have a movie that doesn't make sense, like Upstream Color, you will get a percentage of those people saying that they liked it because it's hard for other people to understand. Basically, they won't say that's why, but they're like, oh, well, you just didn't get it, and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
transcendent and things like this. But the everything boils down to these thought processes on films changing years afterwards, and should Rotten Tomatoes allow them to change their scores? I just want to
right.
know how that would work. Like, is it mandated that every 10 years you have to go back, and or is it like a an appeal process where a certain number of people vote that it gets relooked at? Because if there's no
Right.
uniformity,
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're kind of into this conversation now, so let's talk about it. But I guess my idea was sort of like Rotten Tomatoes critics should have to sort of renew
mm-hmm.
every year or so. At least that's what I think, because there are a crap ton of critics on there right now, and I feel like a renewal process for critics makes sense,
So wait, I've,
right?
I've
You have
never bothered to submit and
it
to,
doesn't
to
mean
Rotten
anything.
Tomatoes, and so once you're in, you're in. It's done.
You're pretty much in. I don't
Hmm.
know anybody who's ever been taken out of it, as far as I know. But they might just stop posting.
Right.
But I don't know anybody who's ever like been taken out of it for not doing something.
Hmm.
Um, then again, I don't know, but I don't. I assume if you start, because you have to submit for your site for that. You can't like just go and branch off and start submitting for some other different site.
Right.
So if you wrote for the Washington Times and you all of a sudden you don't have that job anymore and you start posting from your regular blog, that won't
Right.
work. Like you
Oh,
can't do
okay.
that. So I mean, I imagine that's how they like whittle down some of their critics. I imagine, but
Hmm.
it doesn't seem like they do it that often.
Right.
Um, but I would say like critics should have to renew every year or two, and as part of that renewal process, filmmakers who have submitted to have their films, uh, um, like looked over again,
Hmm.
you should have to like go over your past reviews, and included in those should be those movies that have been submitted
Right.
to be looked at. So if Wayne Kramer submits Running Scared to be looked at again, to be appealed, the next time I would come up for a renew, it would give me a rundown of movies that I need to reevaluate. I can keep them as they are,
Hmm.
or I can change them, you know,
Right. Is that
and
gonna?
and then I could Running Scared to be one of them, and I could be like, hey, I gave this a 6 last time, but man, I really love that movie now. I'm gonna bump it up to an 8.
Yeah. Oh, so it would
You know,
be mainly just the score. That you don't have to rewrite the review, but
right?
I think that would definitely work as long as they included, not nothing major, just a snippet about why your thought process changed on it. What it, because I
Yeah.
mean, if for no other reason, I'd be interested to see, because it does happen a lot. There's movies, if you go back, into the '70s, even there's movies that we look at as iconic classics today that bombed or were trashed when they were released. Happens more often than you think. So I've just always been
You
curious
should
what it
never
is about
feel
time.
you shouldn't feel the same way about a movie now that you saw 10 years ago. Like like even a movie like the Goonies, which I love,
Right.
or The Last Starfighter, which I love. I don't look at those films now and love them for the same reason I loved them back then. Like I love them for different reasons. And it's
Hmm.
just like every movie should evolve because you evolve. If you don't, you've something's wrong. So I mean, so it should be that way for everything, for every film, for you. Everybody should have movies like that. There's some movies that you're going to be like, this movie sucks to me now.
Right.
Like, you know, it's gonna work the opposite way for just as many films.
Garbage Pail Kids. I loved that movie when I was a kid. It's not good. It really, surprisingly enough, it's not good.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm not gonna start knocking on Star Wars or anything. I'm just gonna be like, but you know what though? But you know what though? I would if I were to reevaluate the prequels now, I would probably bump up all three of them maybe a point.
See, and I would go the other way because especially after seeing the sequels have their flaws obviously, and I was a huge apologist for the prequels. I mean I loved Attack of the Clones, believe it or not.
Well, Phantom Menace ain't going nowhere, and Phantom Menace stays the same. Phantom Menace
yeah. But Attack of the Clones just has the moments like with all the Jedi that you never see anywhere else fighting and all that. So I was in love with it. But then when I rewatch it now, especially after seeing something like The Mandalorian or something like The Force Awakens, where they bring back the practical effects, that cartoonish look of those prequels is just. Ugh.
But you know why I would bump up like Attack of the Clones now? It's totally because of the Clone Wars TV series.
How so?
It's because that has made the Clone Wars TV series has made Attack of the Clones so much better. It's kind of like how back in the day, The Mummy Returns made The Mummy better.
Okay.
Because The Mummy by itself, the one with Brendan Fraser, it's okay.
Right.
Okay. But The Mummy Returns added so much to it. Like, it built around it.
Yeah.
And made it so that when I go back and watch The Mummy, it's a much better movie now. So when I look at the Clone Wars TV series, which is phenomenal, and I go back and I watch Attack of the Clones, and I'm like, wow, this stuff leading up to Order 66, this stuff's pretty freaking cool right now.
Yeah, the fleshing
Thinking about
out of
all
it,
that other stuff,
the adding of emotional levels to characters that were like somebody like Kit Fisto, that green alien with the tendrils.
Yeah.
He was cool looking, everybody remembered him, but there was nothing to him. So you go back with that added, there's added layers to it, and it's.
I'm looking around for my Kit Fisto Funko and I can't find him. He's around here somewhere.
Yeah, I mean,
but yeah, that's why. Like I said, it's going to work both ways. There's going to be some movies you're going to go back and you'll be like, yeah, I love this movie now. I'm going to bump it up some. There's going to be some that you're going to be like, nah, this movie doesn't work anymore. Maybe it's offensive now to you. Like, people change, you know? There's just, I think it's smart.
Did you ever watch that 70s show? This is kind of off topic, but things that used to be funny. So during quarantine, I had that on in my office, just watching in the background while I was working, and I did not realize how blatantly offensive a lot of things were even just 20 years ago. You rewatch that 70s show, woo, it's out there.
I haven't watched that show in so long. I used to love it mainly because Laura Prepone was in it, and Laura Prepone was good God.
Right.
Back then.
Yeah. She's a redhead, so that's all in your range.
Yeah, when she turned to blonde, I was less interested. I think that may have been when that may have been when I actually stopped watching, when she turned her hair blonde.
But so with the, I think it's a great idea with the Rotten Tomatoes thing. I mean, I think there should be an option to for them to appeal and put it out there. But I think critics should also be able to go back, as long as they submit a reason. They should be able to go back and amend any of their scores.
They can. We can go back and change our scores.
So what we're talking about is just allowing the filmmakers to say, hey, give it another look, or
I'm pretty sure that we can go back and change our scores anytime, because I can go back and add a review of anything I want.
Right.
So we can go back in there and change our scores. So it totally can be done. It's just that most critics aren't going to do that. Most critics aren't thinking about that. I've never thought about it. Just going back and changing some of my old reviews. I've never thought about it before. But if a filmmaker asked to have it done, to have it looked at specifically, and if we were asked to do it specifically, yeah, totally do it.
Yeah,
totally do it. I think it's a great idea, and I don't see much against it. Although I've heard some people react to it because it got a lot of reaction on social media, and even to my post, I got some messages about it. Not everybody likes it.
Yeah,
they think that your initial impression is what stands. And it's supposed to capture that moment, but movies aren't about a moment. I mean,
Yeah.
movies are eternal. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
A
And I
movie
mean,
doesn't go away. So
also, Rotten Tomatoes for I wouldn't even say for the most part, a majority of it has to do with opening weekend. It's an initial theater run. So, but when you go back and look at it's more about a person's career because after that opening weekend, after a movie's out of the theaters, people nowadays are looking for what's on. Yeah, sure they check it. It's not as important as when you're picking what to go to theater. So it's when somebody like Josh Trank or somebody like that looks back at their collective scores and sees, oh man, my average of all my movies is 20% or whatever. So it matters more to them about that than anything else. But speaking of, that's what got us into this thing in the whole in the first place. You want to take a listen to some Capone scenes real quick?
yeah, let's do
All
it.
right, let's check out some Capone scenes.
How about it for our good friend Al, ladies and gentlemen?
Do you know what the difference is between Adolf Hitler and Al Capone? Hitler's dead. Capone lives like a king in Florida.
He has full-blown dementia.
I have reason to believe that could all be an elaborate act.
What's this about?
We have information that your client may have tucked away a very large sum of money.
Capone. Oh wow! I gotta fix our. Anybody watching on live stream, I'll fix those squared out faces of ours real quick. But yeah, this is the Josh Trank movie that started that conversation. Capone Fonzo was it originally?
It was originally titled Fonzo, and if you watch the movie, they never call him Capone in the movie at all. They only call him Fonzo. There's one time where somebody refers to him as Al, and he's immediately shut down. Like, we don't use that name around here, I believe is the response from his wife, played by Linda Cardellini.
Which I had never heard before, and I was pretty into like those 20s and 30s gangsters for a while, watching stuff on History Channel. I'd never heard that name before this movie.
Me neither, actually, and I wouldn't profess myself to be an expert, honestly. In fact, that when I was after I did my review of Capone, somebody messaged me and was disappointed by my review because they were really excited about the movie, and they like dropped a whole bunch of information on me about Capone's final year or two.
Right.
How he was suffering from dementia and all the things that he said that he saw, that's kind of crap. And I was like, well, that's great. I mean, it sounds like you will probably get a lot more from this movie than I did.
Right.
I mean, I imagine that if you're an Al Capone aficionado, you might understand it a lot more than I do.
Yeah, but if you're not, and the movie should be made for everybody.
Right, and which is one of my biggest problems with it is that look, he doesn't have to make an Al Capone gangster movie where he's shooting up people and taking on Elliot Ness or whatever. Like, I don't need to see that movie, and it's okay if he doesn't want to do that.
Right.
This was a lot like the final 30 minutes of The Irishman for me, which was really slow.
Yeah,
really slow. But the thing that kind of kept me interested in this was Tom Hardy, because Tom Hardy was giving another one of his "I'm coming in from a different kind of movie" vibe. Yeah. Again, it's another movie where you probably kind of wish he had a translator or some kind of subtitle for for a lot of what he has to say, because he's mumbling his way through this. But it's another off the wall performance for him as Capone, who is having his break from reality in his final year of life after a stint in federal prison. And I just felt like it was kind of a lumbering movie,
right.
And it didn't seem to have much momentum to it. And Trank, who I genuinely respect as a filmmaker, I loved Chronicle. I think his Fantastic Four had a great idea that was very badly executed. He was trying to do something different with superheroes that we had seen before, not that long before then. And he was trying to do something different. I appreciate that. It didn't play out well at all. It didn't work out. But I appreciate that he tried to do something different. And he's trying to do something different here too. I feel like that's going to be his thing from now on, is doing things differently than we expect. But he's very inconsistent in the way he portrays Capone's reality and fantasy.
Mhm.
Like there are characters introduced that are in reality, but then maybe they aren't. I don't know. There's this whole like mystery of missing $10 million or something, and it's like none of this stuff really works together. Like none of it really works. It doesn't
Right.
amount to anything. And I think that's just anybody who tunes into Capone is going to come away thinking, I don't know what this Al Capone is. It could have been just about anybody. It could have been about anybody having you know, their brain and their physical form, their physical and their mental selves breaking down. It could have been
Mhm.
about just about anyone.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's good. I don't know who the movie's for. Let's put it that way. I don't
Yeah.
know who it's for, other than the most diehard Al Capone person. Like I said, aficionado. Other than him, I don't know who it's for.
Yeah, I mean, I think the line of whether or not to know this movie is for you is if you actually knew that Capone didn't die in prison before you watched this movie, because I think that's something that a lot of people did. I didn't know that. I mean, I just assumed he died in prison or something like that. But and it's funny you say that he's trying to make something that's different than what we're expecting, because I see that totally. But then parts of this movie felt like he was trying to jump back over that line. Like, oh, they're going to expect some hyper violence, and they're going to expect some gangland shootouts. So I'm going to throw this in. I almost wonder, would it have been better if it just stayed as like not an emotional piece, obviously, but if it didn't try so hard to be a gangster movie at times, without ever actually committing to that.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here that I'm gonna remember at the end of the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the scene. There's a couple of great scenes that I think when I wrote my review and I messaged Trank and I told him I respected what he did with the film, even though it didn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
The scene where he's got the golden Tommy gun and he's firing away and he's chomping on a carrot like a cigar.
Mm-hmm.
That scene is like it's so nutty that I'm gonna
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah.
Or the scene where he's having a duet with Louis Armstrong. It's really, really evocative of the jazz era, which is when the movie is really set.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that just shows Trank's style and how good of a filmmaker he can be, that it puts you right into that era so well. And I wish the rest of the movie could have been as evocative as that. But
Yeah.
there really isn't that much. I didn't care about anything involving his wife or his abuses towards her or her anything that she did to him. I didn't care about any of that stuff. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
care about the Matt Dillon character who just kind of flits in and out, and I don't understand what he was about really. Still, I don't know what the purpose of his character was. There's a whole bunch of stuff like that in here, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know the purpose. It just seems like it's a bunch of things stitched together, and he slapped the name Capone on it. Well, I don't know if he probably didn't ask them to put that name Capone on it. I think he was happy with it being called Fonzo.
Yeah.
The problem is, if no one sees Capone now, even less would have seen a movie called Fonzo.
Yeah,
So,
I would have thought it was a Muppet Babies sequel about Gonzo's cousin. But
yeah, I guarantee you, Trank wasn't like, let's call my movie Capone. I guarantee you he wasn't like that.
right. Which, you know what? I mean, that's a studio decision I can agree with, and I think one of the things I'm seeing, he has so much potential and talent as a filmmaker. I mean, you just have to watch Chronicle to see that. I mean, I hate to keep going back to that, but he's had so many caught so many left hooks and had quite a few stumbling blocks that when you watch this movie, it really feels to me like he's just not confident enough yet. Like he wants to do something different, but he keeps stepping back into it. And he's like, well, I don't know if I want to go all the way out with it, or what do I want to do? And what the end result is a movie that seems like you said, like it was stitched together. Like he was in 14 different mindsets when he was making the movie.
Yeah.
And if he can somehow get his confidence back, or just stop caring what people think and make a movie that's all him and all what he wants to do, I have no doubt that it'll be just as good as Chronicle was. But until then, I think
he's going to have to find a balance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Chronicle was an unlikely success story too. It was a superhero movie that went against the grain,
right?
And which is one of the reasons why it's so great. I wish he hadn't derailed the sequel, but he did. So whatever. He's gonna have to find a balance. He's gonna have to find a way, like that movie did. He's gonna have to find a way to do something that's new, while also doing it in a way that taps into things that people love.
Right.
He's gonna have to find it, and I don't know how he's gonna do that, but he's gonna have to do it. If he wants to be a filmmaker that lasts a long time, he's gonna have to find a way.
Yeah.
He's gonna have to find a way because every filmmaker has to find that way.
Yeah, and I think honestly, and it'll never happen just because of the whole Fantastic Four debacle. But what he needs to do is take maybe not such a high budget movie or a high profile movie, but he needs to take a regular studio picture, do his best with it, and have it succeed. And then I think he'll get. It's the old adage of do one for them, do one for yourself. And once he does that, he'll get that confidence back. I'm not a Hollywood psychologist. I'm certainly not an agent or anything, but every time I watch his movies of late, it just seems like it's somebody that doesn't want to fully commit to what they think is right, what they think they should do.
And I think it's a little bit different. I think he's somebody who has a vision, and he's just not willing to listen to anybody else who might be able to help him. Now, look, there are certain filmmakers who can get away with that. Tarantino probably doesn't have to listen to anybody else, but he's Tarantino.
Yeah.
He can get away with it. Yeah. And to be fair, not all of his movies have been great because he does not know how to self-edit.
Right.
So, I'm fully with a director who commits himself to his vision only. A director like Abel Ferrara is no different than that either. And Scorsese's like that too. There's a lot of them that are like that commit to their vision, and that's what sticks. That's what goes. What they say goes. But not every filmmaker can do that. I don't think Trank is at that level yet.
No.
I think he needs to be at that level where he can take some criticism, take some advice, and find a way to incorporate it without compromising himself.
Right.
He's gonna have to find a way. But it is what it is, man.
Yeah. He says easier said than done.
It's disappointing because I wanted Capone to be amazing.
Yeah, so. I wanted it to be anything that has to do with gangsters is something I'm all in. I'm still feeling the disappointment from Gangster Squad all those years ago from those amazing trailers. But just in a quick side segment of movies that I think that would be awesome that they never touched. Nowadays every subject, everything has been done. Has there ever been a movie about the Pinkertons? You know who the Pinkertons are? They're like the old West federal agents. Has there ever been a movie that really did them?
I mean, aren't they in like the Wyatt Earp movies and stuff?
They always have they show up for like 2 seconds and they're like, oh, they're the Pinkertons or whatever. When you have like a stagecoach going, but
they're usually douchebags.
Yeah, they usually are. But I'm saying like a legit movie surrounding them.
I don't know if there's been just a movie about the Pinkertons. Like I really don't know. I don't know.
Because they're like super bounty hunters back in the Wild West. It's got to be awesome. Yeah, you have to excuse me. I got Red Dead Redemption too. So
I'm sure there is, and we just don't know it. I'm sure there is a movie about the Pinkertons that we just aren't aware of. So.
Well, speaking of films that are fully cerebral and touching on one thing that's never been done before, we saw Scoob this week. So let's check out a quick clip from Scoob, and then we'll get into it.
Hello, Mystery Inc. I have a missing person to report.
On May 15th, Shaggy and Scooby were taken. An unbelievable mystery. He's coming home.
Welcome to the Falcon Fury.
Falcon? Ow, what was that for?
Making sure this isn't a dream.
You're supposed to pinch yourself. Ow. Ow. Scoob, rated PG.
Ow. Finished?
Ow. Yes. Exclusive early access with home premiere. Available.
Scoob. I know we are going to obviously have different feelings about this. And our streaming viewers, apologies for the moving around of the screen for a second. I just have to fix a few things. It's a mess. We're going to get into a regular thing here, and then it'll all be gravy. But
see, I'm not seeing any of this. Like I only see you.
Because the thing is, when you set up the streaming scenes prior, something changes when you go live, and they get all wanky. And anyway, they're almost fixed. There we go. But yeah, Scoob, man, another big movie that we can probably thank Trolls World Tour for being able to watch at home, with the added awesomeness that I have to give this movie props for nothing else for this. that the rental's $20, yes, but they're giving you an option to buy it right away, which that I can totally get on board with because I'm hesitant to rent a movie for $19.99, but if you tell me I can just go ahead and buy it now for $25, I'm good. So that was a
right.
cool,
But
cool
what if
thing.
you buy it and it sucks? Then you own a movie that sucks.
Well, then I only spent $5 more.
Ugh.
Was there is a linchpin here that you don't have the I can't think of a word that won't piss my wife off, but you don't have kids, so they'll watch anything about 1,000 times. So it's $25 well spent. I mean, my kids watched the Emoji Movie about 100 times. So
I can imagine Scoob as a perfectly fine movie for kids. There's a lot going on in it, and it's colorful. It's got big characters. I can imagine a kid liking Scoob. I wish I liked Scoob more.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I really do wish I liked it more. But Scoob was a movie that Warner Brothers originally was going to release in theaters, and it's to be the launch of this Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe that they're trying to launch, and you can see that in like all of it, which is the thing that was bugging me about it. Right. The fact that it was originally a theatrical film that was meant to be a part of a cinematic universe is the thing that I kept coming back to every time I started to enjoy it, and then something would get in the way that I was like cinematic universe building, and I was like, whoa,
right?
You know,
yeah.
To me, Scooby-Doo, I like the Scooby-Doo I like, and I've watched a lot of Scooby-Doo because I love the Mystery Inc. squad. I love all those guys. I like the stories when they're simple. I don't really like all the Scooby-Doo crossover stuff. Like even when they cross over like WWE, which they did like in the last year or two, like that stuff doesn't really work for me as much. It doesn't. I don't.
Not even when they crossed with the Harlem Globetrotters. That was classic.
Harlem Globetrotters. I was a child when I used to watch those things. They were fine. But if I watched them now, I'd probably be like, this kind of sucks. Yeah. But the things about the Globetrotters ones, though, they still kept the same like basic style.
Right.
Like a ghost who turns out to be some guy in a mask, stuff like that. This Scoob has flying killer drones, spaceships, superhero stuff with Blue Falcon, the Captain Caveman stuff, and they travel to the prehistoric island where he's at.
None of that stuff Dastardly is the bad guy.
None of that stuff really works. It doesn't. They don't go with Scooby-Doo. They don't really work with Scooby-Doo, and we don't get that much of the Mystery Inc. team together. Like they're fractured right from the beginning of the movie for the most part. And I like I said, the Scooby-Doo for me that I like is them working together to solve really simple, kind of fun mysteries. And that's the stuff I like from them. And this movie gets away from that because it's so interested in making things bigger that it loses the thing that I think most people my age really like about Scooby-Doo. So I really wanted to like it. I think the animation is gorgeous. Like, it looks great.
It was especially eye-catching.
It looks
I'm never really a fan of 2D to 3D type changeovers. Like when you take a classic 2D cartoon and put it into 3D. But they even took little steps here and there. Like the opening of the film is exactly like the opening of the cartoon. Like they did it exactly, but in 3D. But it was surprisingly good. I didn't think I was going to like that piece of it. And I can totally respect what you're saying because this does feel more like it was a sequel. Like we already established everything and we didn't have the original adventure to really set us off for who these people were. But
which is weird because they gave us that origin in the beginning too. So.
Yeah, but I mean, other than I would have been fine with this movie either way, honestly. I don't think I can totally see what you're saying, but the fact that it didn't do a regular ghost story type deal and they did bring in pretty much half of the Hanna-Barbera squad, it didn't really bother me that much. I mean, they did such a great job with Scooby and Shaggy, and the movie was really emotional at times. I mean, honestly, it really was. And you got the opening that they put in the trailers where Scooby and Shaggy meet, and then all the way through, and in the end, I don't want to spoil anything. It seems weird when you're talking about Scooby-Doo, but there's a really, really kind of
the Mystery Inc. team is still together.
Yeah, but it pulls at your heartstrings at the end, for sure. And I I found myself laughing a lot more than I thought I would have at this, like laughing out loud. So, personally, I can get on board with what you're saying. I would have probably liked this either way, and I would like to see a standard Scooby adventure. But I had a really good time watching it, and I know my kids loved it as well. If anybody's got kids out there,
Yeah.
but I will say,
you watched it with your kids, right?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay, all right. So yeah.
I would have watched it without them.
I assume there was some runoff there. I assume then their enthusiasm made you enthusiastic for it too.
It could have been, but I mean, I will say, if there are any parents listening, you kind of got to know your kid's emotional ability when you're watching this, because at the end, and Travis is probably gonna laugh at this, but there is a scene that gets pretty serious for kids of a smaller age. I looked over and my 3-year-old was actually literally crying at the end at the chance of what could have happened there. So, watch out for that last bit. But I liked it a lot. I mean, I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll say this. Like I said, I thought it was a beautiful film. I really, really liked Mark Wahlberg's Blue Falcon, because he reminded me a lot of Will Arnett's Lego Batman.
Yeah, I can see that.
in some ways. And this movie does some weird things with time too, because the Scooby Gang, like, we see their origin, and then we see them fast forward to the present when they're like as we usually know them.
Yeah.
So it's like nothing's really changed for them, but Blue Falcon is like a totally different Blue Falcon. Without giving away who that Blue Falcon is, but it's like time passed for him and time passed with Blue Falcon, but time didn't really pass for them. It's like really weird.
Yeah,
like, I don't quite understand what they were doing with time.
Yeah, there was some time logic issues there. I can get on board with that.
I guess they're thinking kids aren't going to really think about it that much, and anybody like me who does think about it too much, well, they're not aiming for me anyway. So
yeah, I think Tracy Morgan was a perfectly cast Captain Caveman, though. I'll give him that.
I hated his Captain Caveman.
Really?
He sounded like somebody trying to do Mel Brooks.
Yeah, well.
Which is not that's not Captain Caveman.
In fairness, I didn't listen to it afterwards. I haven't heard Captain Caveman for like probably 25 years. But I just love Tracy Morgan.
A lot of unga bunga is what he talks like.
Yeah.
He doesn't talk like Mel Brooks.
Oh, well.
I didn't like it. I
just like Tracy Morgan.
One of the main things I could not stand.
Yeah, I can see that in your face. You look absolutely disgusted.
Yeah, I really hated it. It was like, come on. I did like at the end of the movie where they started teasing like the future stuff. Like we saw like the shark dude in the one scene.
Shark dude. Why am I not remembering that?
You don't remember it?
Shark dude.
Yeah. Why can't I remember his name?
Was it in the end, like, or?
It was during the credits.
Oh, yeah.
Jabberjaw.
Yeah.
Jabberjaw. It was Jabberjaw. And they were teasing, like, a future team.
Yeah.
And Jabberjaw was part of it.
So
they're kind of, like, teasing stuff that they obviously have planned for the cinematic universe. I did kind of like that. It made me curious, but at the same time, I'm also like, do I think there's any serious viability in this cinematic universe? And I don't think so. Like, it just feels like I don't know how much of that is because it's going straight to digital. I don't know if it would have been viable if it had gone out in theaters either. Like, I don't know if this movie would have been a blockbuster or anything like that if it had come out in theaters. And
I mean, they've been
successful enough to launch something like that.
Hanna-Barbera has been successful throughout the years more than you'd think. I mean,
Scooby-Doo hasn't had a theatrical movie in over a decade, and that was live action.
Well, right, yeah, I'm saying over the years they've been, the properties have been more successful than you think. Like even the Yogi Bear movies made money, not much, but
again, live action.
What's that?
Again, live action.
Yeah, but it's the property. I mean, live action or animation. This is the first time, and that's what I was going to say, is that of all the animation that we've had over the last 30 years, I'm looking at it and like Hanna-Barbera, like can't think of any of their properties that have really had a big animated adventure that people have seen. I mean, when we grew up, that was one of the weird things about growing up in the 80s is you had like nowadays all the TV that you're watching, all the kids are watching is TV that's recent. It's come out in the last 5 years at most. And I don't know about you, but I remember watching all kinds of cartoons from the 60s and shit when I was a kid. You watch Flintstones, you'd have all that stuff on. The new stuff too. But of all those different cartoons from that era, Hanna-Barbera is one that really has no representation in an animated space anymore. Unless I'm missing something.
I mean, well, the Scooby-Doo movies have been coming out on digital and DVD for years.
Yeah, nothing major. I mean, yeah.
But yeah, like in theatrical, no, there hasn't been much Hanna-Barbera at all, if any, animation style. So.
And their catalog is huge. I mean, you got everybody from Tom and Jerry. I thought that was that is from Tom and Jerry.
Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah, that's what it says. I'm looking at Wikipedia. It's the success with Tom and Jerry, the birth of Hanna-Barbera.
I guess that's true. I mean, there's a Tom and Jerry movie that's coming out too. So
Huckleberry Hound, Quick Draw. I mean, they had a lot of the weird ones. Like, what was it? Kung Fu Cat? Was he Hanna-Barbera?
Oh yeah, they were Hanna-Barbera. Oh, you're right.
I always liked their stuff just because it was more offbeat than everything else. I mean, it was certainly not Disney, and it wasn't even Warner Brothers or like Looney Tunes, and it always felt just a little bit different. But I mean, the most exposure Hanna-Barbera cartoons have gotten on a wide level these days is that Fruity Pebbles came out with a version that had marshmallows in it. So I mean, I hope it brings something more to the table because I do really like those characters.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad you and your kiddos enjoyed it, man. Really.
Why does it always sound condescending when you say things like that?
I was serious. I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
I know. I'm just messing with you.
Damn it, I don't think I have Kit Fisto.
You're still on that?
I've been looking around every now and then, like trying to see where he might be. I don't think I have Kit Fisto. I think I have like almost every other Jedi, but I don't have Kit Fisto. I mean, I even have this guy. So I mean, I have
Plo Koon. Nice.
Yeah, I had Plo Koon. So I mean, I've got almost all the Jedi. And I don't think I have Kit Fisto.
You're seeing the birth of a mission here, people.
No, I'm definitely going to look for him now, and I'm sure. Right. I'm sure if I don't have him, it's because he's super expensive.
Yeah, well, he was like one of the most popular, not major ones for a long time. All because the guy had 2 seconds where he smiled at the camera in Attack of the Clones.
And before he got cut in half.
Yeah, and then the kid comes around and like, oh yeah, our favorite Jedi, he's gonna have a good duel and then get killed by Palpatine. Nope, he's gonna get chopped right in a second. So.
Well, Kit Fisto's not that bad. He's like $25 on eBay. It's not that bad.
He's not even smiling in that.
No, he's not. I don't think he has a mouth. Speaking of Clone Wars was something that fleshed out the Kit Fisto character.
Yep.
But not a ton. But but in fact, that was the thing about Attack of the Clones. It took all those background Jedi that my friends and I used to make fun of back when we watched those movies.
Right.
Like, those are the most ass Jedi ever. Look at them. Look, those guys suck.
Right.
And Attack of the Clones made them kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Clone Wars, the cartoon, I know we've been on this for weeks now talking about the Clone Wars, but I've been going back and watching, and it's not something I can binge straight through. I have to watch different arcs, but they did, like, even when it's little stuff, like little cool things, like the Kit Fisto arc you're talking about. I mean, just seeing him underwater with his lightsaber ignited was cool. Just stupid little stuff like that. That's a lot of fun. They did a great job fleshing it out. You know what I've been trying to find that I can't find anywhere? I don't even know if you remember it, but before Clone Wars, the cartoon started, there was like a mini series of Clone Wars. It looked totally different. It was a different animation style.
I have it. I own it.
What is it called? I can't find it anywhere.
Hold on 2 seconds.
All right. We're gonna find this out because this has been bothering me forever. Because this series took us right in. It was like a precursor to Revenge of the Sith. You get to see General Grievous attacking Coruscant and stealing Palpatine and all the battle that goes there. And I've been looking for this thing since forever. And the only thing I remember was that it was called Clone Wars, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So, but that's about all the padding I have to do. So, oh, thank you.
All right, it's these.
Yes.
Yeah,
So it's just called
these.
Clone Wars.
Yeah, it's these. These are not connected to the Clone Wars TV series that we watched.
No.
That came later. These are different. These came before it. They were done in like 3 or 4 minute bites.
Yeah.
And they would combine. This is volume 1. This is volume 2. And then there was that movie, which was the beginning of the long running show.
Right, but the movie's the same as the pilot.
But this came before. This came before all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And for a long time, this was better than the Clone Wars TV show.
Yeah,
because these things right here are incredible.
Yeah,
these are good. Awesome. And yeah, the animation. You look at the animation; there is different. This is more Genndy Tartakovsky, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who did like Powerpuff Girls.
Right. Yeah, definitely
Hotel
feels like
Transylvania. That. I believe he did the animation for these, which is why it looks so much different.
I got to dig those up because as soon as I saw those cases, my mind's been going through my collection now, and I know I've seen those cases before, so I bet I have those somewhere. So now I have a mission for the rest of the day as well.
These made Grievous amazing.
Yeah.
Grievous was my favorite character to come out of the prequels. I loved Grievous, and Grievous didn't do shit in those movies. He just
coughed a lot.
He coughed a lot. These and the TV show showed you why he was coughing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like why when you first were introduced to him, why he was already hurt.
Which also made Mace Windu that much more badass, if I remember it correctly.
But these made him awesome. And Grievous is my favorite Funko. Mm-hmm. Of all the Funkos that I have, Grievous is my favorite Funko. He's up there, up top.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
So we're running down on about 4 minutes left in the stream, but we can.
God, the time always goes so fast, man.
I know. I'm gonna push it out a few minutes because I know we had a couple other things to talk about. One I'm really interested in because I didn't see this news, and we should probably say also to all the readers of our site punchfrontcritics.com, just a quick apology for a lack of content in the middle to the end of this week. We had some website issues in the back end that we had to work on and fix up. So appreciate your patience while we got that done. But needless to say, because of that, my eye hasn't been as much on our headlines as it usually is. And I see that you want to talk about Percy Jackson. Yeah,
Disney Plus is doing a Percy Jackson live action TV series.
See, I think I thought that was such a good idea. I'm still surprised it didn't go further than it did. I liked the first movie.
I like the first movie a lot. I'm somebody who's I love Greek mythology, Greek and Roman mythology. I love it. In fact, I tweeted out the other day how much I'm in the mood to watch Troy.
Love that movie.
Like I have the Wolfgang Peterson, like the director's cut of Troy.
Yeah, the 4-hour version.
Yeah, and I'm kind of feeding to watch it. Like I'm just in that kind of mood. I'm just waiting to have that block of time where I can just watch it.
Yeah.
I watched Brad Pitt as the most awesome Achilles ever. God, he's
best
amazing.
Intro.
He's amazing as Achilles.
The best intro of what, at least top 5 intro ever. When he walks, he gets out of bed with 2 girls, walks to the battlefield, and just runs up and gets.
Yeah, and he just stabs Nathan Jones, who was a WWE professional wrestler at the time, and just takes him out. God, he's bad.
Turns around, looks at everybody else. Is there no one else? Oh, it's just amazing.
It's so good. Yeah, so good, and I want to watch that so bad. I'm gonna stop myself from watching it today. I got too much to do.
Yeah, well, that's one of the movies. You mentioned the direct, and now we're getting off another tangent, but the directorial version. This is one of those movies that if you haven't seen the director's cut, you haven't seen the movie. I mean, it's so much better. You gotta see the
director's cut. I know so many people who still kind of down that movie as a flop. Mm-hmm. I mean, whatever. I've always loved it. Like I said, I've always been someone who loves Greek myth and Greek Roman myth, and I love those stories from back then about about the wars and stuff like that. I love that stuff, and that movie just spoke to me, man. I kind of love it, and I want to watch it.
Even to the little stuff like introducing me to Rose Byrne, and then Orlando Jones,
Diane Kruger as Helen of Troy.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Orlando Bloom's
Paris.
Paris,
It's
most
Paris.
hateable person you've ever seen.
He is such a douchebag, man.
Yeah.
Me and my buddy Jeff still talk about how much we hate Paris.
I mean, literally. I mean, I don't know if that's a testament to the story or his acting, but oh my God, you just
Paris is one of the most hateable figures in Greek myth.
Yeah,
And
then
he's just such a little pest.
Well,
he's just this little douchebag who gets away with everything, and everybody around him pays the price for his fuck ups.
Right, which goes into one of the, sometimes you watch a movie you've seen 1,000 times, and even though you know what's going to happen, you're just praying that some miracle happens and the celluloid changes. But
the Urbana scene.
Yeah, every time he starts going up to the walls of Troy and he starts yelling his name, come out. I'm like, no, just stay inside. Don't go out.
Yeah, just don't come out. Yeah, don't come out.
It's not a big deal. Nobody cares.
Don't come out.
Yeah, it's tough every time, man.
I'm so totally right there with you, man. I'm always every time that scene comes, I'm like, man, I wish this joint would play out different.
Yeah. just don't. Just stay with your wife and it's cool.
Just take the L, man. He's always going to do is make fun of you. It's okay.
Yeah.
Better to let him make fun of you than to end up dragged behind a chariot.
Yeah, that was rough too, man. That was rough. Like, it's heart-wrenching what happens to him, and then he gets desecrated after that too.
Yeah, and then Christopher Plummer as his dad coming out there to beg for his son. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Man, it's powerful stuff, man. But anyway, like I said, I love all that stuff. And Percy Jackson, I'm a big fan of that first movie. I've only tried to read the first book once, and I never quite got through it. Not because it was bad, but because I got sidetracked, like I do in a lot of books. But I've always planned to come back to them. In fact, I still have them on my Kindle. And the second one, Sea of Monsters. Sea of Monsters isn't a very good movie.
No,
it's not very good. But both those films did okay. They both did a couple $100 million.
Mm-hmm.
They both did all right for the time. And for a while after Sea of Monsters, there was talk of doing another one, but Logan Lerman was a breakout star, and he was getting older. And
Alexander Daddario.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I remember Rosario Dawson was in the first one. She may have been in the second one too.
Yeah, she was the King of Hell's girlfriend.
She was Persephone. Yep.
There you go.
So yeah, I mean, they had a great cast all around. Brandon T. Jackson was in them too. Great casts, fun movies. I think this could be great as a TV show. Yeah. The only thing I'm worried about is that because the books, the movies age up the characters.
Mm-hmm.
So they're much younger in the books. I feel like they're going to aim this at a younger crowd, like even younger than like the movies did. The movies were YA. I think the TV show will be even younger, and it might be too aged down for us. That's the main thing I'm worried about.
My only concern is it's not. I mean, we've seen, if anybody hasn't watched the behind the scenes of The Mandalorian, just to see how they're doing the green screen technology nowadays with like a room that's got LED. I mean, it's just mind blowing. So it's certainly possible they can not spend a ton of money and still make it look amazing.
Have you been watching those?
Yeah. I haven't made it all the way through yet. I've been watching them here and there.
I watched the first one. I haven't watched the rest of them yet, or any more that's come out. It's
pretty mind blowing the way they're doing that stuff now, where you have. I mean, everybody remembers the old behind the scenes shot of like the old Star Wars movies we were talking about, where you have a speeder in a room and then everything else is green around it. But they're essentially going in a giant room surrounded by LEDs everywhere, and it depicts the scene. The resolution's so good it looks real. It's and if Disney uses that same technology for Percy Jackson, my only concern would be that it comes off more like one of their iCarly shows than it does like a big budget epic show. Right. Not like the iCarly shows, but it wouldn't be a big budget epic, which it kind of needs to be to really capture what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want it to look like one of those Disney like high school shows or like junior high shows.
Right.
Like you don't want it to look like one of those. You want it to look like The Mandalorian.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Which I don't blame you. I'd want it to look like The Mandalorian too. So speaking of The Mandalorian, and this wasn't on our list of things to talk about, but season 2, man.
It's shaping
pretty much season 2. It's just Dave Filoni said, I'm just going to continue Star Wars Rebels and Attack of the Clones.
Why not?
I'm just gonna take that stuff that I worked on before, and I'm just gonna continue them.
Right.
Because he's bringing in Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka. He's got Tamira Morrison playing Boba Fett, possibly Rex because he voiced all the clones as well.
Right.
So possibly Captain Rex. They're talking about what's her name? The Mandalorian from Rebels.
Bo-Katan. Oh, Sabine Wren.
Well, Sabine Wren, yeah, but they're saying Bo-Katan might be in. Bo-Katan is going to be in it too, played by a homegirl that we like,
Katie Sackhoff.
And if they have Sasha Banks as Sabine Wren, that's going to be amazing. But
I mean, it's my only concern is that now I shouldn't even be concerned because Dave Filoni, he's done no wrong, and I can't really fault him with anything.
He's done no wrong. I call him the Chris Claremont of Star Wars right now.
He's like the only one. If we have him and Jon Favreau leading this thing going forward, I mean, we're in a whole new realm. But my only concern is that it's this many people is going to take away from Mando himself. But
yes.
in the first season, they had just as many people. I mean, each episode had a different person. So if they handled it the same way, but then again, you have the I didn't get enough of this person type stuff. You know what I mean?
This is just the nature of how these things work now. We hear about all these characters coming in for season 2, and we assume that they're going to be there for all of season 2.
Yeah.
There's a possibility that all these characters, because they're so closely tied together, might be in like one episode or maybe like a 2-episode arc.
Right.
And that'd be the end of it. So we always think in broader terms when it comes to stuff like this. And I think that Favreau and Filoni in particular are smart enough to not take us too far away from Mando and Baby Yoda, because that is what the story is about.
But you make an interesting point that all these people that we're hearing about are part of the same small group. So what is there hasn't been any rumors or anything like that, but chances they're using this as a backdoor spin-off pilot or just to test the waters to see if they could have something, because Ahsoka Tano's never been more popular than she is right now at this moment.
Well, that's the rumor. That's what they are. We already know they're doing a female-led Star Wars series. We already know that. The only question is who's the star of it. Now, a lot of people think Ahsoka is the obvious choice.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, we don't know if Rosario Dawson's going to sign on for that length of time to do a Star Wars TV show. We don't know.
Seems like if anybody would, she would. You know what I mean?
Probably, but she's also somebody who does a lot of stuff. So who knows? Who knows? Right. She's not even officially signed to play Ahsoka yet. I mean, I posted that not too long ago. She's not officially signed yet, but it seems like that's what's going to end up happening.
I read that she already shot her scenes. I mean, because season 2 is supposed to be in the bag. I mean, in the can.
I don't think it's done.
But they're probably doing some effects still. But as far as filming is done, because they're not delaying the rollout of it, and with COVID, there's no way they could have guaranteed that otherwise.
It wasn't that long ago that maybe a week or two that we learned that Peyton Reed was going to be directing episodes of season 2, and he hadn't done his yet. So I don't think they're finished. I'm sure they've done some. Like Robert Rodriguez, he had done his because he posted about being done and having shot with Baby Yoda, so he had talked about that. But Peyton Reed hadn't done his yet. Now this has been a couple of weeks. So that may have changed by now, but then again, I doubt it because of COVID. So I doubt any of this stuff has happened.
Right. Well, that's the other thing about that behind the scenes show, which was much more interesting than I've ever seen. I mean, this way they're doing the backgrounds, which sounds like such a simple thing, is so revolutionary. It cuts down their post-production time immensely because they don't have to. Everything's shot in real time with the background, so they don't have to layer it in later. So it is possible that they can say, as long as we get in, back to filming by July, we can still hit our dates for this because we don't need a year's worth of post-production.
Yeah, the season 2 is shaping up to be incredible.
Right.
I mean, I should have known. Like, as soon as they showed Moff Gideon with the Darksaber, I should have been like, "Oh, well, crap! They're gonna bring in." I knew they're gonna bring in like more Mandalorians because they have to. They're gonna show the Darksaber. But I don't know why I didn't immediately think, "Oh shit, they're gonna bring in Bo-Katan." And now it makes like all the sense in the world. I'm just glad they're bringing Sackhoff in because she voices her in the show and Rebels and stuff like that. She voiced her, so I'm glad they're bringing her in to play her too, which I think is pretty amazing.
Right.
And I think that's the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah, those poor voice actors, man. They make these people so like has Tara Strong ever played? You know, I know she's done some screen roles, but I don't think she's ever played somebody. And she's got the look for movies, but we're about to get cut off actually.
Yeah.
So we should probably do our rollout.
Yeah,
but
we didn't get to talk about Mad Max Furiosa, which is happening without Charlize Theron. We didn't get to talk about that, but you know, it is what it is. We talked about plenty more.
Yeah.
So everybody check us out, punchdrunkcritics.com, and find us here on YouTube as well, and on Spreaker, where we'll be posting this as well.
Yep. All right, guys. We'll see you next week, and make sure to check out punchdrunkcritics.com every day.